Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the what are we called? Podcast Wreckers.
Hi, and welcome to the Podcast Wreckers.
All right,
Matlock is here for his birthday episode.
That's our new name, the Podcast Wreckers.
It's tough to buy that domain, but
it's my birthday, and for today's episode, that's what we're called, whatever I just called it.
Yep, it's Cat Wreckers.
Welcome, everybody. I guess, am I hosting because it's my birthday?
Or if you want.
Yeah.
You can host if you want.
I'll host, and if I get tired, I'll just say I'm tired.
Just pass it over to Adam for the weather, and
why not?
I'm in.
So let's go to Adam with the weather. No, okay. Adam, why don't you tell us your name, Adam?
Well, it's Tom. No.
Oh, is it? I didn't know this whole time. I've been calling you Adam.
Yeah, rude. Anyway, I'm Adam Aragon. I'll be co-hosting with Matlock today.
Oh, you will? You think so, huh?
I'll introduce Joe. Joe?
My name is Joe Pearl. I'm also a.k.a. Johnny Chaotic. And my room, oh boy, guys. Thank God for that fan. It's warm.
And that's Joe with the temperature in his room.
Hot.
It's
Steven, what's your name?
What's the temperature in your room?
Hey, I'm Steven. I'm a little upset because I thought we had agreed that we were called the Pussy Wreckers, but whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Someday.
Yeah, you had that conversation with yourself.
As soon as I see one.
We weren't there for that.
Okay, all right.
Someday.
We are going to call ourselves the Pussy Wreckers.
One day.
That's
yeah.
right.
Were you just drinking scotch in your chair by yourself when you said that? Because...
So, if you haven't figured out already, I'm the HR liability on the show. Going to say some things that will appeal to your parents' generation, but not to you.
Oh. We turn it down a little, Steven.
Fuck you.
All right. That brings me to our first topic, which I just thought of, and that is, I guess I'll tell a quick story, and you guys tell me if you can relate. When I was a kid, I, for some reason, thought it was more important to learn about the entertainers and the pop culture of my parents' generation than of my own. So when
you thought it was more important, or that's just what you paid attention
to? I valued what was going to impress adults more than what was going to impress the kids my own age, right? So
I completely agree. I was the same way.
I was like, my dad raised me on Three Stooges and Marx Brothers and even Little Rascals and a couple of those like old comedy, W.C. Fields, things like that. So when I make a reference,
Fields.
I'd make a Casablanca reference on the playground in second grade, nobody got my humor or understood who Humphrey Bogart was,
And they never have since.
I went as Curly for the Three Stooges and as Groucho Marx. Both in elementary school, I believe,
Very
like
topical.
fourth and fifth grade.
Your favorite monochrome TV stars.
And I did a Groucho Marx impression that I think is about as good as any 8-year-old can do a Groucho Marx impression.
This was top shelf 8-year-old Groucho.
I learned a monologue from Duck Soup, and I believe I think I still know it. Let me see. It won't be as good as when I was 8, but well, that covers a lot of ground. Well, say you covered a lot of ground yourself. You better beat it. I hear they're going to tear you down and put up an office building where you're standing. You can leave in a taxi. If you can't leave in a taxi, you can leave in a huff. If that's too soon, you can leave in a minute and a huff. You haven't stopped talking since I got here. You must have been vaccinated with a phonograph needle. And so I do that monologue for like every person I walked up to. Thank you. Yeah. I got to practice.
I do like the phonograph needle one. That's pretty good.
Right. Very topical.
It's
and so I did that to kids and adults. I would do that monologue to everybody who saw me in the costume. And I swear one of the adults, like old enough that they should at least know who I'm playing, if not have seen many Groucho Marx movies, went, "Are you a businessman? You're a businessman."
Look, he's adulting.
Look, he's a businessman, everybody. And so my point is now, as an adult, all the people who know all those references are dead. So am I stuck with this knowledge that no longer applies to Zennials if I a Groucho Marx reference isn't going to play to today's audience,
Hey, man, you can still come hang out at my house. It's cool.
Yeah. You're here with your elderly friends. But actually, what springs to mind on that is actually Mystery Science Theater 3000. Is when I was growing up, I mean, they were already adults making references to things from 20, 30, 40 years ago sometimes.
Sure.
And I didn't get half the references. I still absolutely love that show.
Right. That show has so much quantity and quality that like stuff goes over your head. It doesn't matter.
For every joke you don't get, there's two you do, you know?
Exactly.
I will say too, what you made me think, in the 80s, there was a lot of nostalgia going on. A lot of pop culture in the 80s was based on nostalgia for the 50s. Happy Days was like the number one show for, years. Right. And Norman Rockwell paintings, I remember, were like super popular. Like there was a whole section of Norman Rockwell greeting cards when I was a kid in Target, and it was there for years and years. There was this, oldies and stuff. Like, I don't know. I think there was in the air, there was a lot of nostalgia.
They had MASH because they missed Vietnam.
Didn't we all? All us 8-year-olds at the time. But you know what I think plays into it was Warner Brothers cartoons were on a lot more when I was a kid. They'd play a lot of the old stuff that used to run in the theaters before movies in the 40s and 50s. So a lot of the references Bugs Bunny was making and a lot of those cartoons were making were references to the pop culture of the time. So I grew
W.C. Fields and Groucho Marx. And,
and I watched a lot more Warner Brothers cartoons than I did Disney. Like, I liked the humor in them. I liked Chuck Jones animation and stuff and Daffy Duck and whatever. So when I'd see them making references to that, I was kind of like, oh, I've got to know who that is. I've got to be up on those references. So I think that was also partially why I dove into like older references in pop culture.
That's so funny. I was very similar, and like I would always echo my dad's distaste for whatever was currently popular. And in retrospect, I would be like, "Fucking asshole! Why didn't you come on?" Like, or I wish like at least my brothers and sisters could have pointed it out. Like, no, Steven, like, what are you doing?
It helps for like the one area I think it helps is like classic movies, right? Like, there's movies that are timeless that that are still referenced in our pop culture today, like Indiana Jones, like things that influence even today's stuff, and you still make references today. So in that respect, at least if you're familiar with Kubrick's films, they're going to be timeless in a way that like you're never going to like, nobody's going to go, Kubrick, never heard of him. Who's that guy?
Kubrick for now. We'll see.
So yeah, that's
some things stand the test of time. I mean, people still watch The Shining and stuff like that,
And things that stand the test of time tend to not have many pop culture references in them. I was thinking about that last night. Like,
that's true.
Not Another movies, the Not Another Teen, Not Another movies.
Not Another Teen movie. Yeah.
How dated are those? Even just a few years after they come out, let alone now, 15, 20 years later.
I mean, it still lands with me because I know all the source material, but
yeah, if you were 20 years younger,
no, if I was 20, a lot of it would just be like,
it's like
why
the most
are they doing
irrelevant
this?
movie you've ever seen because it's referencing stuff nobody cares about anymore. So
that's kind of what I like about the new History of the World TV series.
Still haven't seen it. Is it good?
It's really
fun.
Good because
it's a mixed bag in my opinion.
He really, you can tell Mel Brooks is
old.
Really, that. Yep. And definitely that.
Can you tell?
But also just really trying his best to address issues like old political issues and stuff, old historically political issues. And like also just I don't know, like almost had a Quentin Tarantino kind of feel, like from the way Quentin Tarantino handled the Holocaust in what was that movie?
Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah,
right. Kind of a similar tone because they had a Hitler on Ice, like the same way they had Hitler on Ice in the first History of the World, and it was just funny because you're like, what? Like just the juxtaposition of it, the contrast is like.
Well, that was at the end, right? It was like
it was right at the end, right before Jews in Space,
right?
Yeah. And
which I'm still waiting to see.
I know, right?
Like, well, they touch upon that in History of the World 2 as well. But in History of the World 2, they do Hitler on Ice again, and like what is it, Wanda Sykes and a couple of the comedians that are in the show just do a very Inglourious Basterds take on it, where like they just for like the last like minute of the sketch, they were just like, I hope he fucking rots in fucking hell, get fucked in his ass multiple times. I've got like 2 7-year-olds in the living room outside my bedroom right now, so I can't necessarily express myself.
Swear, why are you holding back, Steven? It's just us.
Yeah, we're not for children. Did you know?
Get them out of the house.
Yeah. By the way, if you're a child and listening to this, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
Tell them
when I was a kid, I'd be playing in the streets right now.
Yeah.
Which brings us to my next topic, which is totally unrelated, comedy.
Yay!
Steven, I wanted to ask you, and I was talking with a friend about working the room. Yep. And I used you as an example. And
one of my favorite things.
Right, because you're good at it. And one of the compliments I often hear about your humor is that your funniest stuff is usually you're working the room and looking at, taking in the moment, basically, and sharing that moment with the audience. It's something that you didn't pre-prepare. It's something that's coming purely from your observation. It
was my tactic that I would use. It was always my tactic that I would use as an icebreaker. Because I figure, why don't we get to know each other based on stuff that we can both see? Mm-hmm. So, I had a show where I was like, I could really tell the husband picked the lighting here because, like, the light bulbs are just like round, super long phallic shape, round. And, I was like, I wonder if the wife was like standing next to him, like right before they opened, going, "Sweetie." Were they out of the round ones? Like what? Why? It's really
just want to balance things out, okay?
Right. Something along those lines. And
you drew little nipples on the round ones.
I remember looking around the room and just being like, "Oh shit!" Like that really fucking it hit so well. Like everybody was just like it felt like a warm family gathering. And I even looked at the bar owner and his wife who were sitting behind the bar, and they were like laughing and jovially or whatever you want to call it, but in a good
how
way.
Were they laughing? Tell me.
They were not in the way
jovially.
Where I've seen venue owners laugh when I make fun of them in a way where they're just like, "You're not going to perform here again." So it wasn't that, which was good.
It was an evil laugh.
Yeah.
The more places you're banned from, the more street cred you have.
Yeah. My other favorite one was a place that had a stripper pole. Because they did all sorts of different shows, and I came in and I was like, "Ah, God, I love this place. I love the respect for safety they have here at Rita's. I mean, look at that. At any moment, if a fire breaks out, a firefighter will fall from the ceiling.
From the ceiling.
A hatch
or the Ghostbusters, if there's ghosts,
Fire alarms, those are bullshit. Rita's has got a fucking...
We've got a guy.
There's a guy. He's right there.
Upstairs.
Yeah, Ted will fall out of the ceiling.
And firefighters upstairs.
And it was the same thing, It was like, "Oh, we'd never met you before," and boom, "Hey, cool, keep going. What do you got?" And I actually noticed that whenever I went into my rehearsed bits, it wasn't as strong of a reaction, and I think it was because I was told by other comedians at the time, like, "Oh, well, your tone kind of changes. Like you kind of go from like you're having fun to like, okay, I'm going to work now."
Okay, into the serious monologue that I heard.
Right.
And
so,
down to business.
Yeah, and so I had to keep that in mind and, remember to kind of keep my my same tone going when I moved into my material and try to make it not so, jarring or whatever. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about myself at length based on one single compliment.
For sure. Well,
it
was 1.5.
Is it Steven's birthday? What the hell?
No. But I just want to delve into topics I'm interested in for my birthday. So this comedy, even though I don't do stand-up, I do improv, is always fascinating to me. I wish I could like take a class on like how comedy works, or teach a class, or go to a school for comedy.
The science and philosophy of comedy.
Well, with it, like how it breaks down barriers for people so that they are more willing to listen to something that might be an opposing view, as long as they agree the person's funny and they're not feeling attacked. And like comedy's not funny if you feel like you're the butt of the joke. You have to rehearse comedy, right? And my belief is that the funniest time a joke is told is the first time it's ever told.
Can you start over?
Oh, yeah. Okay. The funniest time you hear a joke is the first time you hear the joke. I didn't get your joke.
What irony!
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a joke; it was a statement. So it
that was so much better. It was so much better. Keep going.
Yeah, you're nailing it.
But now, okay, so Louis C.K., right? Here
we go. Okay, guys.
Right. Okay, see you later.
Just put his head between his legs.
I'm out.
Okay.
No.
Crash position. Go ahead. Continue.
What I'm bringing up is before all that, what I had heard is that every year he would throw out all his old material, start from scratch, and I think George Carlin.
He got that from George Carlin. Yeah,
right.
He got that from Carlin.
George Carlin did.
He says that a lot in interviews too.
So let's talk about Carlin. So Carlin would scratch his act, and then at the end of the year, I guess he would do a special, or what Louis C.K. would do is he'd pretty much perfect his act, hone it through all these performances, and that's what most comics do with their set, right? But not every year do they throw all their old jokes out and then start fresh. And then he'd record it at the end of the year when it was totally polished, and he'd have a polished new special every year.
I think that makes sense. Like, you can't have the right enthusiasm sometimes for the joke when you've told it for 10 years.
That's what I. So I guess that's always been my problem with stand-up is I feel like I don't feel as funny when I'm telling something that either isn't true or it doesn't come from the moment or I didn't just think of. If it's rehearsed, I always feel like it's. I mean, maybe I could polish it. If I were a professional stand-up, I would just polish it with every audience. But I enjoy improv because I know it's always like that working the room kind of like observation of the moment. First off the top of your head, first thing you think of, spitting it out, and like everybody laughing at how we all just noticed this thing happen right then and there together.
I was gonna say,
comments? I don't know what my question is. Any comments on any of that?
Well, as far as like the way comedy goes and stuff, I saw Carlin when he was at Santa Rosa at the Luther Burbank, and it was really fascinating in the fact that he had notes. George Carlin had notes.
Oh yeah,
and he did a version of a joke from that he had in his special. The version that he did that I saw was actually funnier, I think, than what ended up in the special. Mm-hmm. But it was really an amazing moment to see someone who's George fucking Carlin had notes.
He's got so much to say in the set, and he's so verbose. Like I can only kind of imagine that maybe that's necessary because.
And he was 102
He covers a lot of ground. Like,
I've seen a lot of older stand-ups who have like paid their dues, and like they'll do that, because it's like, hey, like I'm not gonna memorize this shit. I've already won.
I've seen experienced comedians do that when they're just trying out new material. It was just interesting to see like what someone would look at as like a beginning kind of thing that a comedian would do.
Right.
That George Carlin's doing it like that level of like comedy and being a comedian. Like you're still doing it like just the way you were when you began.
Well, they say that about like filmmaking and stuff too. Like, learn all the rules, then break them. Like, learn
that's
how to do everything. That's kind of the way
I take that. Like, yeah, he's fucking won. So at this point, he can
do whatever he wants
at his age and stuff. Exactly. Whereas I'm still amateur. I still do open mics and shit like that. And so for me, it's been a long time, but for me, when I go out and do stand up at an open mic, I make sure that I'm not reading off a little thing because I haven't gotten to that level where you're already coming in ready to pay attention.
Yeah.
Because I've earned that. I haven't earned that yet. And so I got to fucking be a little more professional.
Step it up. No, I agree. I think like if you're starting out, that should be your goal is to not do that.
Right.
Exactly. Be as professional as possible.
You don't do a play with the script in your hand every night.
Right. Oh shit. I have messed up a lot of plays.
No wonder I keep getting fired from plays.
That's my showing of Midsummer Night's script.
The one guy who fucking loopholed that shit was Richard
Lewis?
Yes.
Pryor?
Richard Lewis.
I love
Richard Lewis's thing was the big sheaf of messed up paper notes.
I used to do a Richard Lewis impression. It was like,
I've seen a couple of people have that as part of their bit.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
I took all this meds and I'm taking these medications. I don't know what's happening.
And he does all this stuff and he's like working through his stage fright and his unpreparedness right in front of you and using it to his advantage. And I'll have my fucking sets written right there because it's my prop. You don't fucking know. Which is just like, dude, well done.
Yeah, you don't fucking know.
My comment on that is that I feel like it's more peer pressure than anything from comedians who are working hard to stay off book and they see you not off book and they pressure you to get off book. But obviously they can't pressure George Carlin to get off book.
Yeah.
But now Oliver Graves, right? When Oliver Graves...
You can't be staring... If nobody knows you yet, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like I got to get this out before I forget it.
Yeah.
If nobody knows you yet, if you're just amateur, if you're just open mic, or even if you're on a show, but it's just some small local show, if I pay $15 to watch you do stand-up for 7 to 10 minutes, I need to see your face. I need to see your eyes, or I will not fucking respect you. I'll be like, oh... Thanks for charging me $15 for this asshole who reads off his phone.
Right.
Well, and I know that sounds pretty like angry and sorry about the tone, but like I take it seriously. And I think that if I am going to have the audacity to tell my coworkers, hey, I know you normally just chill at home on Thursday night, but if you could drive down here, spend $15, buy a few drinks, but not too much, like all these things I'm asking of them, then it's my responsibility to not, let them down by just being like, okay, what's next?
Well, I'm not talking about great. Right.
Yeah, here comes another joke. But
Now, what Richard Pryor would do was he would just scribble like one-word notes, and he would do an entire routine based off that word.
Just something
so
to
he
cue
needed
you.
a reminder.
Yeah.
Cue. Now,
Janine
Garofalo, also, she's done specials where she just has her notebook or a piece of paper on a stool. And when she gets lost in her act, she goes, she looks, she sees where she's at, and then she continues. So she's not buried. But
again, these are all comedians who have gotten
it.
They've gotten very far.
They've earned it. If you're beginning, you can't do that. I do that with my set list that I write down, but then I memorize the bullet list.
Yeah.
And that's how, and so you'll see me get lost, on my fourth joke. I just finished my third joke. It hit really well. I'm feeling really high from it. And
I think that's common to have a set list and to just review what was my next bit.
And so literally what I do is I blank out and I'm like, oh no, and I hear the laughter starting to subside, and so I immediately just go through the first joke. What was the first joke? What was the opener? What was the first joke? What was the second joke? What was the third joke? Right, I'm on that one. Okay, anyway. Working out. Do you guys work out? I work out.
Right. Nose bleeding.
No, working out. No, wait. Pedophiles. No, wait. Groceries.
I shit myself. I shit myself.
I'm shitting right now.
He throws up and vomit.
Exactly. Oh my God. Did you guys like that?
Tell me you did it.
He's like Gallagher. You have to have plastic sheeting for the front 2 rows.
Oh yeah. You will get wet on this ride. Stephen Thomas is performing. I'd put on 3 glasses.
Stephen Thomas's wild ride.
I would actually rather be hit by flying fruit than his bodily fluids. I know, I'm picky.
I got some of the nosebleed.
Sign this shirt. So I guess my last point I was going to make, the one time I've seen notes benefit somebody on stage, and this is not to say that they needed them, was when I first saw our friend Oliver Graves perform, right? And Oliver Graves, if you look up Oliver Graves, you'll see he's got a video probably with 2 million views from him going on America's Got Talent. And he came on, he's this goth comedian. It's a character comic. He plays this character, Oliver Graves. But when I first saw him perform, he had a little black notebook. And he'd cross his arms and he'd be sort of buried in the notebook. And he'd look up and he'd tell his jokes and he'd go from the book. And
he was part of the bit.
That's my point.
There you go.
It looked like it was part of the act. And and I talked to him, I was like, I actually thought it was funnier that you were reading from your little goth diary. That was part of the, it was like a prop.
It's a prop, he was like Richard Lewis. It's perfect.
Yeah. But he said, I felt I had to lose it. Other comics don't like it when you're reading off notes. It's cheating to have your jokes right there in front of you. And so I decided not to do the notebook. I respect it too, but as a prop, it completed his look for me. And I was like, if you put a couple little Lisa Frank stickers on the outside of your like black diary that you're reading from, and you just, it's his body posture while he was reading, he'd be totally closed off.
Or like a fucking NRA sticker or something.
But it was like, it completed the look. And I begged him, I was like, I think you should just bring it back in. Like, you don't have to, it can be blank. I think it just completes the look of
that
like
could
you're
be
reading from your diary.
That could be,
he could, at some point he could just flip it around.
Yeah,
he
show
flips
the
it around and
audience
it's like a piece of black paper, and it's all
it's just all
blank black paper.
Just black pages.
Just a
with no
Polaroid
writing.
of his ass.
Yeah. So that was the one instance where
like we all have
for inspiration when we're on stage.
Right.
Oh,
I guess
thought
my
it was
point is
medical advice. I thought it was just regular. My doctor said take a Polaroid of your asshole.
Yeah,
show it to an audience.
Put a mirror on the floor, squat over it, get a good deep camera angle.
Yeah.
And
and send it to my office email.
and send it to analvictories@podcastrecords.com.
RateMyAnus.com. There was a site I checked recently just to see if it existed. Luckily, it does not, but it was called Rate My Shit. And
did you say rate or rape?
Rate. Yes, that's always. You have to be very clear with that T.
Yeah, that almost got way darker.
That's on the dark net, but
that's not nearly as funny.
A man I barely know showed it to me one time, and it was literally people would take a
man
picture.
You barely know.
Yeah, that was the point. Hey,
this
have you
dude,
seen this site?
anyway.
It's called, what's it called? So it would show like a little frame of somebody had taken a Polaroid picture of their turd in a toilet, and then it would have like a 1 to 5 scale, and you would just go through and click the next one and rate each one.
I've heard of this.
You have? Okay.
I have heard of this. I thought it was like a government control device to get rid of people that are gross.
Are you rating attraction or like impressiveness, like size? Like
it's sort of like entertainment value, just in general. It could be like long and snaky. Maybe that's what's so special about it.
Or like the roof of a gas station bathroom.
Yeah. It could have hot peppers in it.
If you had like a solid double ender that sticks out of the water then
now explain a double ender to me, like a double-sided dildo
that
is
breaks
only
the surface,
brown and
kind of
crests.
Yeah, think of
that's what I'm thinking.
Think of a kielbasa resting along its curve, and then the two ends are sticking out. A double ender. I think that. I mean, it's only if you have a real solid diet, but I think that.
Nobody here does.
5s across the board.
A double ender. What the fuck?
It's so rare. When you see one in the wild.
And when you have one, the rest of your day is just magic.
Oh,
yeah. Everything's taken care of.
Nothing gets you down. Exactly.
Yeah, no. Whatever happens, you're done. You're taken care of.
I heard that joke all the time when I was a kid. People talked about having a good BM, about, and it was in Robin Hood Men in Tights, I think. But yeah, like, and it didn't actually happen to me until I was older, where I was like, oh yeah, when you just have like a really satisfying sit down and you're like, okay, yeah, I worked on that hard, but I succeeded and everything's okay. And I sweating a little bit. There's some blood, but
I believe Robin Williams sang the praises of it in The Fisher King. He's like, like when you have a really satisfying bowel movement.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't doubt that there's endorphins that are released when you do that. In fact, my view on life is that it's build up and release, and so in life tension builds, and then when you have the relief of that tension, then that's really satisfying. So every day we have a buildup of urine in our bladder and poop in our not in our bladder.
Oh my god! I was just gonna say
poop in our bladder.
Poop in our bladder.
Oh god!
And then you go to the doctor.
You guys
and he's like, "That's not right. You got to get that test. We got to look at that."
You saying everyone doesn't shit out of their urethra?
You have toxic blood poisoning and. No, but
it comes out like shoelaces. But it's weird.
Honestly,
you know how you guys have milk coming out of your assholes every morning, right?
You ever accidentally step on a tube of toothpaste?
But my belief is that's part of what makes life worth living is that relief. That's some of the best joy that you get from life is when there's a relief of tension. Any fluid that leaves your body is the reason you're alive.
It's little alarm bells in your body, and you're turning them off.
Right. I suppose you could say the same thing for, accomplishments and goals that you work towards in life. You're essentially making all these small steps every day. If it's like at a job, and then like at the end of a financial quarter or whatever, you present your big, thing that you've been working on for months, and it is a similar thing, right? You're just like,
you're full of uncertainty, and
do
then
whatever
suddenly...
you want with it.
Yeah,
give me my applause or whatever. And
he stands up on the desk. Release. Do what you will.
Two thoughts just occurred to me. One is that we should have an applause button in the bathroom. Two
on the podcast.
Yeah. Two is that Matlock, for his birthday, managed to do the mythical poop episode.
Yeah. Well,
that we've been trying not to do.
Now I want to talk about Birdo's reproductive system. If you gave birth of a baby out your mouth.
Yeah.
No.
Or
okay.
nose.
Birdo is the exemplification of Nintendo not respecting women.
And she dies in 3 hits. I mean, how realistic is that?
Then you throw the babies back at her until she leaves you alone.
She spits the babies at you, and so you hit her with her babies.
Yeah, every female character in Nintendo
Birdo's our mascot.
Yeah, I think so.
Dude, we gotta get her as a mascot. Yes.
Oh, dude, we ought to ask her agent if she'll be on the show.
You jump, you stand on the babies, you stand on them, then pull them up, then throw them.
Right.
That's the Mario physics when you can grab the thing you're standing on and lift it.
Yes.
I'm still trying to perfect that myself.
Sometimes you want to ride them for a little bit, depending on how far you want to be.
Catch a little air.
The last
Mario explaining this to some chick at a bar. He's not paying attention to him.
Well,
no, you got to be on the eggs.
There's a physics problem here, because if someone shoots out an egg fast enough to move horizontally in a straight line, it's a bullet.
That's not a baby. You've got a bullet there.
She doesn't even look aware of what's happening. Like, every time it happens, she just looks around like, what?
The physics appropriate Birdo would be her just dropping them on the floor.
What would the sound effect? I want everybody to improv real quick. What is the sound effect when, if in real life a real Birdo spat an egg out, what it would sound like? Okay. Yeah, it'd be like. Okay, last poop related thing, and then we can move on.
That was babies.
I used to say, I want to bring it back to poop real quick.
Your priorities, Len.
I used to say that I had my best ideas when I was on the toilet, right? And I've heard other people since say very similar things. Like, that's when you can, a lot of creative ideas end up popping up into your head. For whatever reason, I think
I stare between my legs. I like to see the magic happen.
I like to watch as it happens. I stick my head in the bowl between my legs.
Yeah, like an airplane crash.
Yeah.
I get one leg up.
How many sheets of toilet paper am I going to need for this?
Yeah, you gymnast one leg against the wall, and you kind of 45-degree angle it.
Leg here, other one down, looking.
Yeah, I actually have to stop doing that so much, because that's how you get hemorrhoids. Kids sit on the toilet for too long, and
that's true.
So I just wanted. Anybody else experience that? Like a good thought during a poop?
My process. What I do when I go to bed at night, I don't have a TV on, or I don't look at my cell phone or anything.
Let's not get this racy, Steven.
Go on.
God damn it.
Go on.
Tell me about it slower. Go on.
Anyway, I don't look at any devices or anything at all, and the room is just black. I don't have a TV on, no lights, whatever, old school, whatever. But I find it pretty relaxing, because I find that I'm still awake for a good 20 to 30 minutes, and I'll have temptation to want to go to my phone, and I resist it, and I just kind of fall back to when I was a kid and I couldn't sleep, and I just
this just in, Stephen Thomas better than everyone.
Don't look at a phone on the toilet or before I'm sorry.
Stephen Thomas is the better man, in case you're all
what
wondering.
he didn't explain is that this is happening at 12 noon. So it's all in the dark.
Yeah, you turn on all your blackout curtains and you just stand in complete darkness and you think.
I didn't know. I didn't know I was the Gwyneth Paltrow of the group until just now.
Yeah,
you are the sliding doors of this group.
And so, no, if you hire like 12 people to fan you with palm fronds, and
I actually had a thought. I don't know if you guys want to riff on it or not, but I was thinking what would be hilarious sponsors for the podcast wreckers. Like Mountain Dew Code Red and meth. Brought to you by RateMyShit.com.
We're no longer functioning, but you can still do it at home. The new RateMyShit.com board game. Play it with friends. Just make sure you eat first.
What's that mobile game, the Legends one, whatever they're always pitching?
Oh, the one, dude. You know what's sad? Okay, all right. Two things.
I think we got to get some of that money.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah, Raid Shadow Legends. Brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends. They'll do anything.
I just wanted to say, Stephen, like I used to stare at the patterns on floors and stuff, like or the walls, and see faces or so it's called pareidolia. I believe that's the term where you're like, you look at a patterned wall or surface and you like start seeing different shapes.
Used to be one of my favorite activities as a child. I had a tree. I had a tree in the backyard, and I was lucky enough to sleep in this one room we had that looked out a big window. And at night, I could see fucking just hundreds of different things. I would stay up, like I would like keep myself up to like, oh shit, look at that! Oh my god, that's awesome!
Right?
Oh, sure, that's fine for you, but I do it, and I need pills. Fine.
Well, that's funny. Like I was just thinking of
that's because you're seeing them on other people's faces. But
you're a demon.
Whatever. I saw some things.
I saw a demon.
You're getting all yellow wallpaper with it.
Yeah,
that's different.
Everything's a Rorschach to Joe. It's all a test.
If you haven't read Yellow Wallpaper by, God, I can't remember the name of the classic American author, but that's all about seeing shit in the walls, but then it goes pretty left.
On what you just said, I wanted to say, I saw one today, and it's so sad when you see a celebrity from 10, 15 years ago doing one of those Facebook ads for a mobile game like Royal League or whatever,
Royal Clan Clash of League of Bloons. Yeah.
Literally like 2 hours ago, I saw Heather Graham.
Bloon edition.
I saw Heather Graham pop up and she's like, "Hi, I'm actress Heather Graham and I've been playing Royal Rumble." And she does like, and it's like,
Heather Graham, no.
Fucking bums you out, right?
Yeah.
I hate that.
Oh, Pedro Pascal?
Pedro Pascal. Yeah, I think it was Pedro Pascal is in a mobile game ad for like a murder mystery game, and it's super cheesy, and you're like, why are you doing this? And he's like at the peak of his career.
Right.
So
they must have offered him enough money.
Insane money at him for that.
I've been wondering what happens. What's the end result of intellectual property becoming completely dissolved, I guess, for lack of a better
Brave New World.
Well, I heard the new Flash movie.
By the way, the author of Yellow Wallpaper is Charlotte Perkins Gilman.
Gilman, yes. Fantastic short story about a woman who married to a dude who ignores the crap out of her, and she goes crazy, locked up in a room, staring at the wallpaper. But
first published in 1892. Stephen's older than we thought.
Dude, it's still it's haunting to this day. You should really give it a read. It's
it
short.
Cool.
It's very short.
I've never read it. Sounds cool though.
I don't know how it fits into our topic of poop, but I guess yellow and he's a crappy husband.
It fits into the big word you said earlier about seeing patterns in wallpaper and stuff.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give you the author name so you didn't.
Thank you, Charlotte Perkins Gilman. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
This has quickly become a book
make
review
sure
podcast.
not to read that.
I'll never read it.
I love that book. Sorry, fellas. Oh, it's so weird to go check this out. Yeah, I bet it is.
I suggested it to a girl one time.
Yeah, it's all about men ignoring you.
She never spoke to me again. It's like, this is the kind of relationship I want to have.
I've made such bad like cultural mistakes that way. I also had a first date and was like, "Hey, want to go see Django Unchained?"
Well, depending.
Get us in the mood.
I mean, it's a good litmus test for whether they're going to be worth dating or not, I would
That's
say.
kind of, my thought was like, we both like Quentin Tarantino, you seem cool, but like it was a date too. And so when it got halfway through the movie, I was just like, well, fuck.
Do I hold her hand now at this torture scene?
We both love Spielberg, and we both love Liam Neeson. So Schindler's List was our date, and
she was Jewish. I was not.
When do I make my move to hold her hand? Like, you know,
what's the perfect time to put my arm?
When Django's shooting someone or someone's getting whipped? I don't know.
Yeah.
Which one's hotter?
Yeah.
Hey, are you having a moment here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did remind me of the classic Seinfeld. Yeah. You made out at Schindler's List?
One of my first dates with my current girlfriend, Vanessa, I was like, well, I'll show her my favorite movies. What's in my top 5 favorite movies? And I was like, well, number 1, I mean, after Little Shop, is Fire Walk with Me by David Lynch. And that's one of those movies that you're not even supposed to show to people unless they've seen the show.
Yeah,
but I was like, well, I was exposed to it before
you
the
need
show.
to be pretty good friends.
Dude. And so...
That's awesome. Check it out. I'm fucking weird.
Exactly. No, it kind of was. It was like, I wanted to see how weird she was willing to get. And she like...
push your limits.
She fell asleep halfway through, right? It was late when we put it on. She just passed out. It's very surreal and weird. And she probably just, her brain like turned off and she passed out. And then the next day we finished it. She reluctantly finished it. And then as soon as it was over, she was like, I'm glad I never have to watch that again. And I was
picturing like a roofie Clockwork Orange vibe here. But
wow. She slept over and we watched the rest the next day. But like after she said, I hope I never get to see that again, I was like in this state of shock where I felt personally attacked. Like like something I loved had been shit on.
Yeah,
and she was careful. So I didn't like say any, I wasn't like violent or anything. But she was.
I flew into a rage.
She did not know me well enough to know what was happening. She didn't know what was happening. She just
then
saw
I dropped
that
the
I was
people's
like,
elbow.
I was stunned, and she.
Woman.
I didn't.
David Lynch.
All she saw was me going. But it's. I mean,
I suppose you don't like Picasso because they don't look like people.
Yeah, right. And then, and so this is what she did.
You know, Steven Spielberg's an asshole, I suppose.
She loves Spielberg, not a big Lynch fan, and so, like, she literally like
I guess
was.
You just hate joy.
I'm sorry, I love picturing Matlock just being like.
Super passive aggressive.
No, actively aggressive.
Oh, actively aggressive. Yeah.
Defending David Lynch like he's the people's hero.
You son of a.
My brain turned off and I couldn't make words, and I was just sitting on the bed, kind of stunned, trying to think of like how to defend it and why I like it,
or how to kill her.
You got kicked in the brain balls.
It's so creative,
nice.
And yeah, and so I had blue brain and
kicked right in the brain balls. God, I love that. Exactly.
And to end the story, she like started.
She's dead now.
Yeah. She was inching towards her purse and collecting her things slowly as I was like reacting because she was like, I don't know if I just started a fight. I don't know how. Like, she didn't know me well enough to know what was going to come out. She just saw me like going.
Like you just got kicked in the balls.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like I had to reassure her, like, no, it's okay. You can have your opinions. That's fine. Like I'm just shocked.
You're allowed to be wrong.
Yeah,
no one's saying you can't be.
Trying to put the fangs back in.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's good.
It's fine. It's fine. I don't need
it's fine. What's your favorite movie that I won't like?
It's fine.
So, but since then, we are still dating. It's been 9 years, and we found a middle ground, like Steven Spielberg-esque, like crowd. We find a middle ground on shows and things we like. But when it comes to the extremes, she's more reality TV. I'm more David Lynch, surreal, abstract, and she's really into that.
I would love her to guest on the podcast just to tell us about
her reviews of all the David Lynch
her
movies.
impression and review.
I want to hear about the conversation she had with the first girlfriend of hers immediately after that happened. Like, just
I don't
like,
know
what was the first
thing?
So I met this guy.
I'm scared.
So I said one wrong thing about this movie.
I gave someone an aneurysm today. I think his blood vessel in his eye burst. He forgot how to say the ends of words, so it was only the first half. It was like a stroke.
The last thing I want to bring up for my birthday podcast, and this can be the final unless anybody else wants to do something, is Kindergarten Cop. I was telling you guys before.
let's dive deep into
before the
Cop.
podcast. Everyone I've spoken to who has seen that movie, and now this is a thing. We're probably the same age, most of the people that I talked to about this movie, right? So they probably saw it when they were the age I was, right? You probably all saw it when we were in our teens, right?
Yeah.
So when
like
I talk to people about that movie, they love it. Like everybody's like, "Oh yeah, that's one of the best Schwarzenegger. That's my favorite. I laugh so hard." They quote it all the time. And then I go on Rotten Tomatoes. I've checked it twice, and both times I've checked it over the past couple of years. I'm like, "What? 50%? Like 53% critics, 52% audience." Meaning even less audience members say that they like.
Anyway, no, I was saying that like signing on to Rotten Tomatoes didn't exist. So the only people reviewing that are watching an old movie
they
that
go
they
off
don't.
Old reviews. I mean, they take critic reviews from the time it
the
came
critic
out.
reviews I could see because critics are famously like kind of not good with a lot of comedies. Like, I'm not surprised with the critic score at all.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the audience score being low is because every audience member has seen it in the last 10 years, not 20, 30 years ago.
Not true, because a lot of people, like, I could go on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Well, I mean, there's some people who saw it back then,
false. You don't have to say untrue, just say false.
But the main criticism that I see aimed at it, at least in the critic reviews, is that it's too adult for kids and too saccharine and kiddie for adults. It's too extreme on both ends. But as a teenager, I feel we were in that space where it was like we were coming out of childhood. We're still used to maybe some of the more puerile humor in it, but then we also were getting into action and. So
let's be honest. The heart and soul of Kindergarten Cop is listen to this man with the weird voice say things.
Yeah.
It's basically like.
Yeah, it was the first time somebody was like, "Oh yeah,
Daddy, and what does he do?"
Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice can be hilarious if you make him say like comedy and the juxtaposition or the contrast of what you're used to, because it was, it was the Running Man, it was Predator.
Fix your camera, Joe.
It was
your camera.
Okay.
It was that's who I grew up with, knowing who Arnold Schwarzenegger was. Conan, like he's a killer. He's a monster. He's all that is man. And they even start the movie like that. Remember, watch my car, and he like goes in and like beats down the door and like just whatever. He's got
the dark
beard,
glasses and grizzly beard and cigar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's him playing against type.
Right, exactly. And so you walk into the movie going like, awesome, cool, more Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is what I'm used to. Mm-hmm. And then they flip it on you.
They hook a left,
and it's a
the title didn't warn.
The title alone.
The title did not warn me. This was. I thought maybe he protects it from terrorists.
I hate both of you so much, but yeah, and I think that for me that was the major draw. Yeah, it was just like, this is fucking awesome, because
Arnie is one of those actors that everybody loves. Everybody loves Arnie, I think, for his accent alone. Because he's not a great actor. Sure, he's buff, and maybe that's another reason to like him.
He's
but
charismatic.
He's charismatic, but it's like when Stallone and Schwarzenegger were like having their peaks, and they were both kind of like trying to outdo each other as the main action dude. It's like, I think Arnie won just on his accent alone, because everybody likes impersonating Arnie. And Stallone's just got that one thing with the,
like you've had a stroke and part of your mouth doesn't work.
Yeah. I think you sound dumb when you're doing a Stallone impression, and you sound funny when you're doing a good Schwarzenegger impression. So just based on that alone,
I don't know if it was the accent.
My ass off at a good Stallone impression.
Can you do a good Stallone impression?
I cannot. An old buddy of mine did one at a campfire once, and I was on the ground. Like, he did it for us. Solid hour, and it was I can barely
do an impression of your friend impersonating Sylvester Stallone.
This is like 2002,
but reenact it for us, word for word.
He was just he was like, it's easy, like you just have to like.
You just shoot some Novocaine into your lips.
Yeah, it's like basically you're really sleepy.
Just took a bunch of Xanax.
Okay, I'll do this impression. Hold on. Let me numb my lips and take a bunch of Xanax. All right.
Novocaine drugs.
Sylvester Stallone, yeah.
My favorite Stallone quote ever is not Stallone. It's somebody doing Stallone in the old commercial. There's an old commercial for Lipton iced tea. And it's like the little black and white claymation Rocky. And he's getting the shit beat out of him or whatever. And he goes into the corner and there's a little claymation Adrian. He's like, "You're getting killed out there, Rock."
Yeah.
And he's all, "Who keeps ringing that bell? I can't concentrate." It's my favorite quote. I say it all the time. I used to say it when I was hungover. It was my favorite thing to say in the shower when I was hungover. I'd be like, "Who keeps ringing that bell? I can't concentrate." Oh, that's funny. Fuck,
I seem to remember that. I wonder, was that the guy who animated the California Raisins? Was it California Raisins or Celebrity Deathmatch?
Probably. It was they had a string of commercials for Lipton brisk iced tea. No, that's brisk, baby.
That's brisk, baby. Yeah, that was it. Adam, if you'll play that Lipton commercial for us right now, if you can find it, and if not, then
I will play a very short clip.
Ooh, and Rocky Balboa is taking the beating of his life. Who keeps ringing that bell? I can't concentrate. It's over, Rock. Now that it's over, just give me something to drink. There ain't nothing on ice to say to now. Lipton brisk iced tea, yeah? Except maybe this.
Brought to you by Lipton and RateMyShit.com. Podcast
brought to you by the 80s version of Lipton tea and poop.
Does anybody like that old Stallone movie that the critics love to hate? What was it called? Oscar?
Oh, Oscar?
Yeah,
I've never seen it, but it always looked like it was kind of fun.
That was kind of fun, actually, yeah.
It was fun because it was a big ensemble movie. Mm-hmm. I love those.
What's that arm wrestling one?
Over the Top?
Over the Top, that's right.
It's like a truck.
It's awful.
That's funny because I liked that movie when I was a kid, and all the other kids I knew loved that movie. Mm-hmm. But no one today likes that movie.
Well, let's see what Rotten Tomatoes has to say about Over the Top. I actually
never saw Over the Top. I remember people talking about it, and I just was always like, every time I looked at the cover, I was like,
imagine all the
truck.
Tone and gravitas of intense 80s movies, but trying to wrap itself around the concept of arm wrestling.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes says Over the Top, 32% from critics, 49% from audience.
Also,
that was his kindergarten cop.
He cheats. That's how he wins.
Does his kid
he resets his hand, which you can't do in real arm wrestling.
Spoiler.
All you have to do is mutilate your body a little bit, and you can be like me. That was a bad story.
I was going to say, I don't know why Stallone is from Romania, but I like it.
Romanian Stallone. They're the best Romanian
Stallone.
Hello, I'm Stallone.
I've come to this country to be Stallone. It's not working.
Hello, who is Adrian? Where can I find her?
So, Matlock, how's your birthday going?
Pretty bad so far. I mean, I've been doing a podcast for most of it with three guys that I barely
could we do the thing that I said I wanted to do for him?
Oh, you're a bird, man. You can do whatever you want.
That's right. You're a fucking bird, bro. Don't forget that, all right? You're a fucking bird. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're a fucking bird, bro.
You ain't got no cage.
A bird.
Don't ask what it means. You don't have to think about it. That's the beauty. You're a fucking bird, bro.
Yeah.
Be a bird.
Just be a fucking bird, bro.
Be yourself.
Be a fucking bird already. You're fucking I'm sorry. I got a little carried away. Well, I'm excited. You're a fucking bird. That's all.
So and that funeral dirge,
everybody for coming.
That's why we're not going to do that. We're going to do it restaurant style, like they do at Chevy's. Here,
is there still
which everyone loves?
Is there still
a copyright on it? I'm going to do a quick one, and then we'll all do it together. All right, here we go. Happy birthday from all of us to you. Happy birthday from Chevy's and our crew. Woo!
Podcast Records brought to you by Chevy's, Lipton Iced Tea, and RateMyShit.com.
and shit.
Yeah.
That's brisk, baby. That's my catch line for our advertiser. I get to say that's brisk, baby. And our advertiser's like, we don't make that product anymore.
And I want my baby back. That's right.
Reach out to long shot sponsors at podcastrecords.com.
Yeah.
Where's the beef?
Brought to you by Taco Bell, Chili's, Chevy's, Lipton Iced Tea, and RateMyShit.com.
And Guy with a Gun.
Guy with a gun.
I'm here.
He's got a gun. Do what he says. He's got to go. All right, I think that's enough for us today. That's enough birthday fun.
Well, anyway, happy birthday to Matlock Zumsteg.
Happy birthday to you too. Thank you.
Yeah. What? No, why?
I mean, you'll have a birthday eventually. Yeah. So
the podcast wreckers and the populace at large wish you to have joy today.
They better.
And to not think about your mother nude, sweating, crying, bleeding.
She's dead.
Pushing you out of her
that's
vagina.
Even, wow. Oh,
don't think about those things.
No, think about her young and fit, but then all those things.
And dead.
He's talking about everybody in general.
And then think of Birdo's reproduction system and how you would have looked coming out feet first from her mouth.
It all comes back to Birdo, brought to you by Birdo.
Then an Italian plumber standing on your body and then picking you up and throwing you back at her head. Okay.
All right, for a send-off, tell us all of our sponsors today, Matlock.
Well, first of all, the Podcast Wreckers has been brought to you today by the letter Q, a very underrated letter that you should use more. Q, use it more. Also, Lipton Iced Tea with their current and favorite catchphrase, Steven.
That's brisk, baby.
Can you do it as Sylvester Stallone?
Oh, who keeps ringing that bell? I can't concentrate.
Now do it as Liam Neeson.
Can't.
Okay, that's fine. That we're gonna drop them as a sponsor anyway. Joe.
Okay. RateYourShit.com.
Thank you. Yes, don't forget RateYourShit.com and Chevy's now working in conjunction, sharing the same URL.
Ironically, they feed into each other more than you'd think.
They have a little photo booth in the bathroom now, so you just go and you sit in it, and then it takes a photo straight down.
It's got like an extra wide toilet with lighting.
Oh God.
Instagram filter, place to hold your phone,
Hashtag blessed.
Yeah. We actually had a booth like that at my company party this summer. It was great.
A shitting booth?
Yeah. So you could get a picture. It was great.
All right. Today's also brought to you by
I don't know.
Angst and ennui.
Yeah, that's why we do this for you, is because we're sad and tired.
Yeah.
Oh,
and a recurring joke, by the way. Shout out to Coulter.
Oh yeah, Coulter, our one true fan.
He's hit me up, and he's like, "Am I your only audience?"
Yeah. As
I'm
far
like,
as we know,
you're the only avid one.
Yeah.
You're our Patreon. You're our entire Patreon, and you don't send money.
For everyone who accidentally is watching this because they clicked on the wrong button, Coulter can vouch for us. We have Coulter. Coulter will vouch that we are worth watching.
Happy birthday to Matlock. Thank you for checking out the Podcast Wreckers. Find us online at podcastwreckers.com or your podcast platform of choice, or in that shoe you left behind the door, the one with the sock next to it. That's in
where
there.
It is.
Oh, thank you.
Rate that shit.